Okay, so get this. Today we're going deep on like the future of, well, everything.
Sounds ambitious.
Oh, it is. We're diving into this essay by Dario Amodeis.
Anthropic, right. The AI safety company.
That's the one. And you'd think with a focus on AI safety, it'd be all doom and gloom, but
That he flips the script.
totally, he's talking about like a radically positive future if we navigate the risks right.
He calls it a compressed 21st century.
So how compressed are we talking exactly? Like, what does that even mean?
Imagine all the medical advancements we expect by the year 2100, right?
Yeah.
All that progress. Amodei saying, what if it all happened in the next decade?
No way.
Curing most cancers, ending infectious diseases, maybe even doubling our lifespans within our lifetimes.
Hold on, that sounds kind of too good to be true. No, like some AI magic wand.
It's not magic. Think of it this way. What if we had an AI, right? But it's not just any AI. It's smarter than a Nobel Prize winner in every field.
Okay, so like Einstein times 1,000.
More like a whole country of geniuses, but in a data center. All that brain power aimed at solving our biggest problems. That's Amodei's vision.
But even with all that brain power, there are still limits, right? Like we can't just wish away the need for experiments or like instantly generate data.
Exactly. Amodei calls it marginal returns to intelligence. We're still bound by the real world, you know? It's like even with a team of Michelin star chefs, you still need the ingredients in the oven to bake a cake.
Right, right. Makes sense. You can have all the brain power in the world, but the laws of physics and like the complexities of biology don't just disappear.
Precisely. And that's why what Amodei is saying is so interesting. He's not saying AI is a magic bullet. It's more like discovering a new element, a new law of physics. It changes the rules of the game.
So where do we see this compressed 21st century happening first? What's the first domino to fall?
He starts with biology, specifically human health and lifespan.
Okay, so like what? Curing diseases.
That's a big one, yeah. But it's bigger than that. Think about how we do research now, right? It's slow, it's painstaking. Amodei says AI could be like this tireless, ingenious researcher.
Instead of just analyzing data, it's actually coming up with the experiments, the hypotheses, the whole shebang.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, imagine an AI simulating how different drugs would interact with the human body, but at a molecular level, seeing connections humans might miss, even designing more efficient clinical trials.
So it's like having a million Einsteins all working 2047 on this stuff. That's the kind of research capacity we're talking about, right?
Exactly. And that's where that compressed century starts to feel real. Look at CRISPR.
Gene editing, right?
Yeah, that was a huge speed boost for research. Amodei thinks AI could trigger a wave of similar breakthroughs, but way faster.
So not just incremental improvements, but like a total paradigm shift in how we do science.
Exactly. And it's not just about finding cures for diseases either. It's about understanding like the fundamental building blocks of life. What if we could unlock the secrets of aging itself?
Okay, now we're venturing into like sci-fi territory.
Yeah.
It's exciting, but kind of daunting to think about. But Amodei doesn't stop at biology, does he? He also gets into AI's impact on the brain, on our minds.
Right. He sees AI potentially revolutionizing neuroscience, not just with new treatments, but by helping us unravel consciousness itself.
So not just fixing what's broken, but actually enhancing our brains, our abilities, maybe even our emotional range.
Exactly. Amodei is suggesting a future where mental well-being isn't just a goal, but a lived reality thanks to AI.
This is where things start to feel really, really futuristic.
Yeah.
But even if AI can deliver on all this, there's a big question. Will everyone benefit?
That's the billion-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
Amodei gets into that, like, what if this just makes inequality worse?
Yeah. It's like the future's already here. It's just not evenly distributed.
Eh.
Did you have any thoughts on that? Like, can AI actually help with stuff like poverty or, even political conflicts?
Well, he's cautiously optimistic. He says AI could be a huge force for good, but especially where there are, like, clear goals, things you can measure.
Okay, so give me an example. How do you apply AI to something as messy as poverty?
Think about like disease eradication, like campaigns to get vaccines out there. AI could analyze tons of data to figure out the best way to distribute them, or even predict outbreaks before they happen.
So it's not that AI just magically solves poverty. It makes our existing efforts like way more effective.
Right.
But then what about access to AI itself? Isn't that a problem? The benefits mostly go to whoever's developing it, right?
He talks about that too. He even mentions this opt-out problem.
Opt out? What's that?
It's like the people who could benefit the most from AI might also be the ones who are like the most hesitant to actually use it, out of fear or just lack of access or distrust.
Wow. That's a trip, right? A self-fulfilling prophecy
Hmm.
almost. So how do you even address that? How do you get people to buy into a technology that might seem like a threat, especially if they've been let down by technology before?
It's tough, for sure. Amodei emphasizes communication, like really clear communication and education and building trust between the people making AI, the policymakers, and the communities who are going to be most affected.
So it's not just about the tech itself, it's about the whole social and political context around it.
Totally. And speaking of, structures and stuff, Amodei doesn't shy away from the potential downsides when it comes to, like, peace and governance.
Right, AI is a tool,
Right.
right? It can be used for good or bad. Like that old saying, give a man fire, he's warm for a night. Set a man on fire, he's warm for the rest of his life.
Grim, but yeah, I see your point. Amodei talks about the risks, like autonomous weapons or mass surveillance, but he also thinks we can steer it toward a more peaceful future.
So what's the solution there?
Yeah.
How do we make sure the AI fire warms us, not.
He's got two main ideas. One is he calls it a proactive entente strategy.
Entente, like those alliances before World War I.
Yeah, exactly. He's picturing democratic countries, right, forming a coalition to basically outpace anyone else in AI development, but at the same time setting up ethical guidelines, safety standards, all that.
So a united front on AI, basically. What was the other thing?
Sharing the benefits. He's big on that. Like
Yeah.
actively offering to share AI advancements with a wider range of countries.
Makes sense. If everyone has skin in the game, it's less likely to be used as a weapon.
Okay, but even if we solve world peace, right? And even if, like, the benefits of AI are shared more fairly, there's still this big question of what happens to us, to humans.
Yeah, the big one, right. If AI can do almost everything better than we can, then what's the point of work? What gives our lives meaning?
Makes you wonder if all this progress is leading to a future where, like, humans are just obsolete. Did Amodei have anything to say about that? He did, and it was actually pretty optimistic. Like, he thinks real meaning comes from human connection, from those challenges we find, like, intrinsically rewarding, whether or not an AI could do them better.
So it's less about what you're doing and more about, like, why you're doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Amodei's point is, even if AI can write symphonies, right, or, I don't know, perform brain surgery, humans will still find something deeply satisfying in those pursuits.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
Exactly. He's not ignoring the economic side of things, though. Like, if AI really can do most jobs better than us, how do we make a society where everyone can actually thrive, even without a traditional job?
Yeah, that's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Especially now with all the talk about AI and automation.
Amodei throws out some ideas. Universal basic income, for one.
Everyone gets a paycheck, whether they work or not.
Right. And he's open to, like, completely new economic models emerging, stuff we can't even imagine yet.
That's kind of wild to think about. Like, what if the whole idea of work changes?
It's a big philosophical question. He doesn't have all the answers. More like, he gives you a new way to think about the challenges.
I feel like we've only scratched the surface of this essay, honestly. So much to unpack.
Oh, for sure. But that's a good thing, right? Means it's really thought-provoking. It sticks with you.
So someone's listening to this, right? And maybe they're feeling, I don't know, overwhelmed, a little freaked out by all this. What would you say to them?
Totally understandable, right? The future can be kind of scary, especially when you're talking about something as powerful as AI. But Amodei is not trying to scare anyone. It's more like a call to action.
A call to action.
Yeah, like this compressed 21st century. It's not set in stone. We actually have the power to shape it through the choices we make, the actions we take.
So it's not about waiting to see what happens. It's about actually creating the future we want.
100%.
So, okay, what can someone listening to this actually do? Where do we even start?
First things first, educate yourself, right? Learn about this stuff, how it works, what the potential impacts could be. Conversations like this are a good start too.
Right. You got to stay informed.
And then put pressure on the people in charge, leaders, policymakers, tech companies. Make sure they're putting human well-being first.
Not just like profits or whatever.
Exactly. If we can do all that, approach this whole thing with our eyes open, but with a sense of, hope, then, honestly, I think Amodei's vision, this compressed 21st century of crazy progress, it could actually happen.
A future worth fighting for sure. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. How will you shape the future?